All right, let's get right to the heart of Australia's legal framework. Today, we're going to build, from the ground up, the structure that underpins every single law in the country. Let's dive in. It's a really good question, right? We live by these rules every day, but have you ever really stopped to think about where they come from? I mean, who actually makes them? Is it politicians? The courts? Some old dusty book? Well, the answer is a little more interesting than you might think.
You see, it isn't just one single source. The entire Australian legal system is actually built on a foundation of three distinct but totally interconnected pillars. And if you can understand these three, you've pretty much got the key to how our whole society is governed. Okay, let's get to our first pillar. This is the one we're probably all most familiar with. These are the laws made by the people we actually elect to represent us. The official term for this is legislation, and all that really means is the laws made directly by our parliaments. And that's not just rules for us here at home. It also covers the laws that are needed to make international agreements, like treaties, official here in Australia. So, to put it really simply, anytime you hear about a new bill being debated or an act of parliament being passed, that's legislation. It's the law, written down, argued about, and then voted into existence by our elected officials. It's the most direct way we make laws. Now, for our second pillar, we're going to step out of Parliament and into the courtroom. Because, laws aren't just written down, they also have to be interpreted. And this is what we call common law. The whole thing is built on this really fascinating idea called precedent. Basically, it means that the decisions judges make in past cases can actually become a source of law for future cases. Yeah, people often call it judge-made law. While Parliament writes the big rules or statutes, it's the courts that often have to fill in the gaps and clarify what those rules actually mean in a real-world situation. A big ruling in a case today can set a standard, a precedent, that other judges will follow for years. It's a living, evolving source of law, built one case at a time. And that brings us to our third and final pillar. Now, this one's a bit different. It doesn't create everyday laws about, say, driving or contracts. Instead, it holds the entire system together. You can think of it as the ultimate rulebook for the whole country. Of course, we're talking about the Constitution. Its main job is to set up the very structure of our government. That's the Parliament, the government itself, and the courts. It hands out their powers, and maybe even more importantly, it spells out their limits. Here's a great way to think about it. If legislation is the law, then the Constitution is the law about the law. It's the master blueprint. It gives Parliament the power to pass legislation in the first place, and it gives the courts their authority. It is the absolute bedrock that the other two pillars stand on. So, there we have it, our three pillars. The laws from politicians, the laws shaped by judges, and the master rulebook that governs them all. Let's just take a quick look at how they all stack up side by side. Okay, so here's the cheat sheet. You've got legislation, that's the statutes and acts from Parliament. Then there's common law. That's all the precedents set by courts and judges. And finally, the big one, the Constitution. That's the whole framework, and its power comes from the people. Each one has a totally different creator and a totally different role. And the most important thing to remember is that none of these pillars works alone. They're constantly interacting, they balance each other out, and it's all of them together that create this stable, predictable legal foundation for our society. So, I'll leave you with a final thought. This three-pillar structure has supported our legal system for over 100 years. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? What happens if one of those pillars, whether it's the power of our parliament, the independence of our courts, or the authority of the Constitution, starts to weaken? What happens if one starts to crack?